welcome everyone. Good morning. We are so excited to be here with you today. I'm going to start with a quick question though. Who in this room loves what they do? Show of hands. Yeah, it's pretty cool. This whole retail landscape is amazing. And frankly, there's just never been a better time. But the reality is, over the last 25 years, it's challenging and it's hard, really hard. But the beauty of eTail is that you get the opportunity to be with the great brains, finding new opportunities and new challenges to solve. And I think that's what's really special about what we're going to talk about today, is the power of what it's like to be a part of eTail and where we're going as an industry. We're all e-tailers. And if you think about it, 2010, there was 23%, 22% adoption rate of the iPhone. 2021, we've got 73% adoption. So where is this going to go by 2031? I can't even imagine. And think about all the cool challenges we get to solve. We've got TikTok, we've got AI, we've got retention, different ways of doing that. I mean, there's so many new things. We're just at the foothills of retail. It's so fun, and we all get to be a part of shaping it. And I think that's really the power. And for me personally, I sat on my first panel so early in my career, and through my entire career, eTail has always been present. Some of the relationships, the partnerships, the people who I've met here have helped me solve some pretty big problems with some amazing brands. That leads me to building Compass Rose, where we help people in the growth strategy. And we believe what got us here is probably not going to get us there, which is why the people you're looking at around you are an amazing community. And I am joined by some esteemed panelists who are pioneers in this space and have done some pretty incredible things along the way. So you've heard our backgrounds, and so I'm going to actually ask the first question, which is, how do you know eTail?
Well, thank you, Rose. Excellent intro, and you're right. It's a privilege to be in this industry, really. It's also a grind, right? And we also have to recognize that. So hang in there. It's not easy, especially in these economies. How I found eTail was honestly one of my first roles, which was at Online Shoes. And that's, by the way, the original shoe online company, all due respect to Zappos. And for Online Shoes, it was a wonderful opportunity when I was more of an operator to come to eTail, and that was back in 2005. And since then, I just found so much benefit of coming here, sharing, understanding from colleagues of what works and what doesn't work. And for the most part, I've been here almost every year. So.
Angela Caltagirone, I'm now with PB 5-Star, and the new lifestyle brand we literally launched at yesterday at eTail. We also had an amazing turnout for our pickleball event, so thank you for any of those out there that did attend, and check it out. There's a special offer for PB 5-Star. But it's amazing that I'm at this groundbreaking startup right now. I really got to know eTail 17 years ago when I was at Williams-Sonoma Inc., and I was there for 25 years, and I was obviously had many, many different roles, from the $200 million company to the $5 billion company that it became. And the friendships and the colleagues that I created back even in the day really has helped me so much along the way, and the connections you're making right now are so important. And not to mention, we'll get into it a little bit more, but starting this brand from the ground up, it's amazing how many, whether from the brand, the art side and creative, to the tech, to just getting friendly advice, it's been this group. So appreciative of eTail.
Hi, I'm Angela Hsu. I've been coming to eTail for over 10 years, met a lot of interesting people. And I've been coming here to solve problems, from talking to peers and vendors. But the pivotal points of my career is I met someone, and he's a CEO of a private equity-backed company, and he asked me to be on the board of directors. And that really changed kind of how I thought about my career, like what I want to do in the long term. That's about 3 years ago. And because of him, I rethink about where I wanted to go. I was at the company for almost 20 years, and I thought in order to get to where I want to be, I need to change. And then because of that connection, the experience I had with the company kind of helped me to say, okay, I got to go from Ams Plus to Overstock and now back and beyond, and then think beyond 5-10 years for my career. So just be kind of, come to the conferences, just be open-minded, because not necessarily talking to your peers or vendors or just from people from different industry, because it might spark conversation and take your career to a different direction or different level. So that's my experience with eTail.
My name's Ken Pilot. This is my first eTail, so I'm a virgin, and it's been great. I like coming to conferences to see what's new, find out what's happening around our industry. If I could give one piece of advice to those who are sitting out there and working with platforms, just understand who you're speaking to and make sure you're delivering a really clear message around your platform. Acronyms and things like that aren't always helpful. I love looking for newness and finding out what problems are being solved. I also like to know when I'm talking to a platform who you compete with. So if I were running an RFP, I want to know who else would be there with you. And if you don't have a good answer on that one, I'm moving on.
Excellent. And that's a perfect segue into, we've talked about the past, but what about the future? And again, what's so cool to me is I'm looking out at this audience and thinking, in 10 years, you are all shaping where we're going. And so I'd like to take a quick moment and ask where people think it's going, because again, we've got all kinds of new opportunities, challenges, problems to solve, all kinds of things. So what do you think, guys?
Well, to your point, the next 10 years, I almost wish I was younger, because the first 20 or so of this industry has been really grind, but we're seeing so much more opportunities to expand and grow. And, certainly everyone talks about AI, right? But that's honestly, just on the very initial stage, in my opinion. And the data and the power of data now is becoming real. And that's what's so exciting, and data has also been talked about for, goodness gracious, almost 20 years now, right? But the actual utilization of that is where I think the next 10 years is going to show us, and we're going to have to all learn together. So.
I'll just riff a little bit from that. I do think it's exciting in the AI space, especially as having had huge teams before to a startup. We're even using AI just to become more nimble and really be relevant even with a new brand. So I think what we're all saying, it's actually an opportunity to bring more of the humanity back, because if we could streamline some of that, it's really about more strategically thinking, what is your customer experience? And going back, what I think I would say is it's going to be about, still at the center of it, should be about the customer experience, acting like the shopkeeper, letting your consumer buy where they're going to buy, and those are going to vary in so many different ways, channels from marketplaces to in real life experiences. And, as much as things change, things will stay the same, and it goes back to the consumer. So I always like to ground myself, because we could easily get distracted.
Exactly what I was going to say. It's,
because we have the same name.
Right. So my mission as a CMO is always create an experience, personalized, easy experience for shoppers. So no matter where we are, if we center on that, it doesn't really matter what you have, right? And now there's the latest technology. I'm not going to say Gen AI, but it all depends on the data, right? And the ID graph and how you train the model and the feedback loop. And I feel like there's still a long way to go. Think about, we've been talking about personalization for a decade or longer, and probably the latest technology is going to take it to the next level. But at the end of the day, we still have to come back to what's best for the consumer. How do you make it easy and personalized, and don't get off track by the shiny object and then forget what's most important is the shoppers that spend money with you and then come back and build a brand that lasts.
I think one of the big opportunities going forward is how we incorporate energy and momentum into shopping online. When you think about online shopping, nothing has changed in 25 years.
It hasn't.
In as much as you see the PDP, it goes to your cart and it comes home. Now the process has gotten a hell of a lot better. It's faster, and there have been so many improvements along the pipeline from the time I'm thinking of product to the time I receive it. Where I see it going to energize it is, how do we incorporate video in all different forms? I mean, think about it, there's so much video being consumed on TikTok and in social media. Where does that live in your e-commerce site? How are you incorporating that to create the energy, attract the new customer, and actually just create theater and make it fun? And I'm seeing a lot of platforms out there, again, whether it's through LLM or generative AI or any of those terms, but how is it moving fast enough to create theater on a site so it's more comparable to where customers shop most, which is in store? There's that connectivity between humans and customers that happens in the store that doesn't happen online. And I'm seeing that. I'm seeing places where it's happening. You know, one company that I've worked with in the past, Firework, they've developed Ava, which is it's an AI sales associate that actually sits on your PDP page. And you can query her or him, because it can look like anybody, and ask them about the product. So our ability even to go towards conversational commerce is, I think, going to be critically important. Being able to interact and check out biometrically or speak to the e-commerce site as I'm shopping or entering something the old-fashioned way, just tapping it in. But I think that's where we're going. Conversational commerce will be a hell of a lot more important.
So I'm going to pick up on a couple themes that I'm hearing across all of you. So while there's a lot of change, there are a lot of technical choices, platforms, AI, all kinds of things in the technology landscape. One of my favorite things to say is technology for technology's sake, probably not the best idea. So what I don't believe is actually going to change in another 10 years is the importance of intimacy of knowing your customer. It's been said for years, but what I think is so cool about this space is data, AI, machine learning. I mean, that's been around forever. AI is not really new, let's just call it. It's speeding though. So it's the speed of change, which again, I come back to the thought leaders in this room, that it's one ginormous think tank, and being able to like really understand and like break open new opportunities that are around understanding that customer. And if I think about even the sessions that I've sat in over the last couple of days, loads about customer experience. So much like what Ken's talking about is there's that, and what Angela talked about on the human side. Like it's all coming together, it's just moving faster, which is accelerating the need to really understand the technology, but then figure out it's the art of knowing the customer, what's in their hearts and minds, and using technology to understand that, and then blending it with the solutions that are technology-based, but it's how they come together with the art and the science in the middle. And I can't remember who said it, but someone was talking exactly about that. I think it was Jennifer from Target. It's that art and science that I think it's the acceleration of how those two come together in the middle that make this an incredibly exciting like playground. We're just at the foothills. So now let me ask a question. So we've all had backgrounds in the space, right? So if you were to look back, this is one of my favorite questions, and to say, what would I say to my 21-year-old self as I'm embarking in this entirely different space now? What would you say? What would be your nugget pearl of wisdom to your younger self?
I'll jump in and say two things. One, listen more, probably. When you're younger, you think you know it all, and I probably was that same example, and I probably could have listened more. Secondly, though, one thing that I did, I believe well, is meet a lot of people, right? This is an amazing conference for that. I've met amazing individuals like Blake Hall, that's the CEO of IDMe, or Peter Callahan, which is a big influence on my life, or even Mark Douglas, Mountain, you know, and Mark put on, probably famous now, events where he flew retail, eTail people out to Vegas for the evening. That was done for a few years when he was building his business. So these are people I still believe I have connections to and care about and lean on for information over the last 20 years. So it's listen and network, get out of your bubble.
I'm going to really tag on to that because I already talked about the importance of in real life and understanding your consumer and building that customer experience. And by the way, I'm going to shout out, I think it's so important, back to mentorship is giving back, and all of us that have been around for a long time, giving back to all of you that are maybe a little bit earlier on in the career and really making sure you, as a mentee, take on those mentors. And mentors don't have to be your best friends or someone that maybe you have the same hobbies with, et cetera. I think we all know you get different benefits from different mentors, and I've had some that have been literally 22 years, and I can probably say I have at least, I would say there's like a 10 mentors throughout time that I still talk to. And in fact, one group, 22 years in the making, that I went through a leadership program, and I have 2 mentors that have been all along with me and a peer mentor. And not to undermine that peer mentorship. I'm also gonna call out, it's full circle for me because I have my daughter here who works at Birdie's and my niece who works at Tatcha, and who are starting their careers and have done amazing. And it's I think it takes a lot of us to bring more of that in and make sure we give back as well.
Be yourself and be kind to people, and network for the long term without asking anything for return. I think that's what worked for me in my career. I'm always very resourceful to everyone, and it seems like it's coming full circle. People have been helping me. I took a break for 4 months. I was in Asia for 4 months taking care of my parents, and many people reach out to me. And I found a job without a resume, and while I was in Asia, because all the network came out and they say, hey, come do this for me. And I was not ready, but because all the network and opportunity, now I'm back in the country for 2 weeks, and I'm working already. And it's the network, and I thought, it's something probably I did for the past 10 years. It's something built slowly. So don't be the one that come out to people and say, hey, you're working for this company. How can I sell you something? Like, make it a bit long-term, not transactional. And then you will realize your network grows, and then a lot of people want to see you succeed.
Yeah. I'm just going to say the 3 of us met at eTail. We
Yes.
didn't say that.
Yes.
Yeah, many years ago.
And we chatted each other all the time when I was in Asia too, and because we met here.
Yeah.
So I think if I were going back to key advice, number 1, it's good to be second, learn from other mistakes. Don't race to be first. Number 2, I would rather rent it or buy it, not build it. It's companies that are building their own technology. It's a waste of money, and if it was a public company, I would short it. Number 3, if you don't know something, ask a question. If you don't know what an API is, ask a question. There are others in the room that won't understand things. Be the person that asks, what does that mean? You'll learn more, you'll do better.
It's awesome. It's great advice, and I'm going to tag right onto what Ken is saying, which is don't be afraid to ask. And remember, we are all here. And I'm pretty sure a couple of us are going to be around through the course of today and tomorrow, but never be afraid to ask. Any panelist, anybody at eTail that's on a stage, not on a stage, be a part of the conversation. I know that you all are, but it's just such an amazing opportunity to have access to people. And I feel like that's been the secret ingredient in my career, is I've had so many people help, just like everyone else here is saying.
Yeah, I'd say just on that point, just stay curious. I mean, continue to learn, continue to grow. You're never too old. I like being called a pioneer. It's better than being seasoned and a veteran.
Trailblazer.
Old-timer.
Trailblazer.
I'll add that to my list of titles, but thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the time, everyone here, and may you have an inspiring many conversations in your remaining time here at eTail. Thank you.